She's a 25-year-old woman in tech who just inherited $150,000. She wants to spoil herself, buy her first home, and never have to worry about paying for her old age care. Most advisors would tell her, just put the entire inheritance into an investment portfolio and never look back until you retire. But that solution just doesn't meet all of her goals. I'm Libby Telford, a licensed life and living benefits advisor in Ontario, Canada. And in this video, I'm going to show you my 4-step insured plan that helps lay the foundation for her to meet all of her goals and never have to worry about running out of money in her old age. Before we allocate her $150,000, let's take a closer look at Carrie's complete financial picture. Carrie works in tech as an independent freelancer, so she's self-employed, and last year's revenue was $75,000. And we're just assuming that this year and maybe the next couple of years forward, it will look about the same. So after her business expenses and taxes, her take-home pay is $4,700 a month. And her monthly expenses are currently $3,500, including her rent, utilities, and groceries, leaving her with a $1,200 monthly surplus. She has $150,000 inheritance sitting in a bank account, she has no debt, and she's in good health. Her goals are simple. She wants to spoil herself a little, buy her first home, save for retirement, and also save for potential long-term care needs in her old age. Let's build the plan. So step 1 of our plan is the spoil fund. And that will be $5,000 that Carrie can do whatever she wants with it. She can spend it on a spa day or a spa weekend or a spa week. She can take a trip of a lifetime. She can buy Armani bags. I don't know, whatever she wants to do. Whatever that thing is that she really wishes she could have done, she can do with her 5K. No questions asked. We're not going to judge her. She can just put it in her regular checking account and end of story. That will leave us with $145,000. And step 2. Step 2, emergency fund. Very important. Everybody should have one. And in this case, we will do 3 months worth of take-home salary. So $4,700 times 3 is approximately $15,000, just to come up with a nice round number. So we left off at $145,000, and now we have $130,000 remaining. So the emergency fund is 3 months pay. And she should always keep the balance at $15K. She can move money in and out of there, whatever, as long as her baseline balance is always $15K or 3 months of pay. And we will open this in a high interest savings account, otherwise known as a HISA. And I know what you're thinking, interest rates are really low. Why are we calling it a high interest savings account? Good question. Yes, interest rates are pretty low right now. The good news is that the longer you keep more money in there, the higher the interest does accumulate. And interest rates will go up. My personal opinion is I think the interest rates will start to go up. The bank will increase the interest rates, which means it just goes up with everything, including return on investment interest rates. So that's the good news. The bad news is the only problem with a high interest savings account is that it's a non-registered account. So any interest we earn in the HISA is considered taxable income. So we have to keep that in mind every year when we do our taxes. So that's easy peasy, step 2. For step 3, this is where things start to get really interesting. Step 3 is going to be our house down payment and retirement plan. All right, So for the house, we'll need to open a first home savings account, and we will need to open a tax-free savings account and also an RRSP. The first home savings account allows us to put a maximum of $40,000 principal at $8,000 per year. So that's $8,000 for 5 years. So we will max fund that for the first year at $8,000. And the TFSA also has contribution limits because these are registered accounts, right? So when they're registered, that means the government issues these accounts and they track them and they penalize us if we misuse them. So we have to keep in mind our contribution room. So for our FHSA, we cannot go over the $8,000 for the first year. And the TFSA, we have to calculate our contribution room. It's different there. Every year has a different set amount of our contribution limits, but it is retroactive. So if you've never put any money in there, you get to put in however many years of money that you haven't put in. In Carrie's case, she's currently 25 years old in the year 2026. So she would have turned 18 around 2019. So she has 8 years of contribution room. And that will put her at around $51,000. And that means we can drop in $51,000 in one lump sum in 1 year, no questions asked. We're good. We're not breaking any rules. We're not going to be penalized. And we're going to be able to accelerate our retirement savings. And now the RRSP. Now, when you think of a registered retirement savings plan, you might think, but isn't that an employer plan? Don't you only get that if you work for a company? No, you can still open your own RRSP and you can still deposit 18% of your salary every year. That's your contribution room. That's how it's calculated. So in Carrie's case, her salary is $75,000. So 1 year of contribution room for her is about $13,000. So we'll inject a lump sum of $13,000 into her RRSP. And you can also, it is also retroactive, so you can add previous contribution room amounts into it. But for now, we're just going to start with the $13,000. Now, not only are these registered government accounts, but working with me as a life and living benefits advisor, I'm with an insurance company. So I use what's called segregated funds. And with segregated funds, we open investment products, investment portfolios. And what that also means is that essentially your accounts will be inside what's called segregated funds. Each account will have its own portfolio. So you will essentially have 3 different diversified investment portfolios. And we can choose different types of different investor profiles, from conservative, balanced, slow growth, to medium aggressive and super aggressive. So we can change the dial for each of these 3 different types of savings investments accounts. And for the FHSA, since we want to accelerate that, we would probably choose a more aggressive savings. And for the RRSP, something maybe a little more conservative or mid-range, and same with the TFSA. And of course, you can change your investment profile and fund type at any time. So the added advantage to having segregated funds with an insurance company is that your money is insured. And you can do a 75-100, 75-75, or a 100-100 protection contract. And what these mean essentially is maturity. So this is principal protection at maturity, and this is principal protection at death. So this one here is the cheapest one because you're only protecting 75% of your principal. 100% might cost you a little bit more, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not all that much more expensive than a regular mutual fund account. And there are different types of investment products that cost more than others and some that cost less. And they all perform at different levels and they all contain different types of funds. It's not much different than picking a mutual fund portfolio, except with the insurance company curates and packages an investment portfolio that all fall into the insured segregated fund contract. So if you have any further questions or if I wasn't clear, you want any clarifications on that, just drop that in the comments below. So that is just an FYI. These will not be going into the standard bank mutual fund that you might be more familiar with. These will be going into a insured segregated fund, and there will be 3 different kinds, and they will grow at 3 different rates depending on what type of portfolios we choose. So we were at 130 before we came over here for step 3. So from 130, we're going to subtract the 8,000, the 51,000, and the 13,000. And that leaves us with $58,000. And now for step 4. Step 4 is for our living benefits. And living benefits can come in a variety of forms. So I'm just going to put our little $58,000 here just to keep track of where we're at. The first one we're going to do is what's called a participating life insurance policy. And we're going to set it up at $200 per month premiums or $2,400 per year. If she goes with the annual payments of $2,400, she will get a little more bang for her buck. The cash value growth will accelerate faster, as well as the death benefit. It'll accelerate a little bit faster, and she'll get started with a higher death benefit than if she pays the monthly. So either way, it doesn't really matter. It's up to her what she decides to choose. In order to protect her ability to continue paying her rent and her monthly expenses, including contributing monthly amounts into her savings and investment accounts and her life insurance, we want to protect her income with income protection insurance. And this is in the case of any kind of disabling accident, injury, or illness that puts her out of commission and she's unable to work her regular job for a short term or long term. Now, the emergency fund would cover the short term for 3 months, but she can have a plan that kicks in after the 3 months, and she will be paying approximately $100 since she's young, 25, healthy, and has a low risk desk job. So the rate differs between people with different types of occupations. So, for your case, it might cost more or less, but in Carrie's case, it's $100 a month, approximately $100 a month. And again, she can also pay this annually if she wishes. So now we know what her living benefits look like, right? Or $1,200 per year already. And an added benefit to having this disability plan, we can add a rider to her plan that gives her a return of premium of 50% at a certain milestone. For example, at the age of 55, she can call that in, and what her premiums amounted to by the time she's 55 years old, she can cancel the plan if she feels she doesn't need that coverage anymore and get back approximately approximately $18,000. And she can redirect that money back into one of her investment accounts, either her TFSA or her RRSP, and continue to accelerate that growth. In this case, for the first month, we're just going to leave this at, it's like $57,700 now. If we're just subtracting the first month's premium. So for the first month, that's all she's going to pay out of here is $300, $200 plus $300 for each plan. All right. Now we've completed our basic setup for our foundational plan. So what's next? What happens after the plan? What do we do with her surplus? We know she has $1,200 a month in surplus money. So she can use that to pay her policies. So that's her par, and that's her disability. So that leaves her with $900 surplus that she continues to enjoy. So because we have a timeline of 3 to 5 years that we'd like to buy the home, we would like to continue to fund that account for max out the FHSA account at $8,000 a year as much as we can. So as close to that as we can get would be about $600 into her FHSA. So for the first few years, things will be a little tight unless she makes a little extra money. But remember, we still have this surplus over here of $5,770. She can also use annual tax returns and put those into her accounts as well. And we have her HISA sitting at $15,000. So we'll add the remaining $5,770, $57,700. She has over $72,000. That's still liquid cash that she can decide how she wants to route it. She can inject the money into her next year's RRSP, TFSA, and FHSA contribution room, and that would be very helpful to her. Okay, so what are the future projections of what these accounts will look like in a few years? So we're looking at our FHSA, and we want to be done with that after 5 years. So after the 5 years, she'll be able to purchase the house. She'll have her down payment, and she'll stop putting contributions to that account and redirect them to her TFSA and RRSP after the 5th year. And she will also take some money from the RRSP to make up the difference with what she needs in the FHSA. So to be fair, she's probably going to have about $50,000, maybe about $50,000 with a 7% interest rate. So she'll need another $50,000 for a $100,000 down payment in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. That's what we need. So she can pull the remaining $50,000 out of her RRSP under a home buyer's plan in a tax efficient way. Whatever it's grown to in those 5 years, I'm sure she'll be able to match that and take whatever the remainder she might need from her high interest savings account or her TFSA, either way. And so when she's done with the house and she's got the house, now she's putting $300 a month into her TFSA, and after up until the age of 65, we'll just say she has her new house. So by the age of 65, her TFSA with the initial principal of $51,000 and then $300 a month every month. 4 years later, though, we will lose 4 years, but it'll still, with a conservative interest rate of 5%, net her something like $800,000. That's not a guarantee, but that's what the math says. And With her RSP, her initial principal is $13K here, and again with $300 a month after the first 4 or 5 years. Her total here in the RSP will be about $500,000 at the same 5% interest rate. And then the par life insurance policy at $200 a month, that policy compounds. She only pays it for 20 years and no longer has to make any payments, and she still has permanent life insurance. And the cash value will compound, and by the time she's 65 years old, she will have approximately $300,000 that she can leverage, give or take. And again, this is not guaranteed. None of these numbers are guaranteed. These are just estimates. And then the CPP and the OAS, those are the government pensions and old age security funds that will pay you out. And assuming she will keep working and paying into these funds through her taxation, she will probably bring in around, maybe $18,000 a year extra on top of that. So this money she can leverage and borrow against and use for whatever she needs to. She doesn't have to pull the capital, pull the principal, and spend it on future projects or future needs, future goals, including old age. Instead, she can borrow against it. And there's just so many benefits to having all of these assets. These are all assets. So she still gets to live life while she's young and work because she still brings in a paycheck. She can still pay all of her bills. She still has a little bit of surplus left over. And we also assume that as she furthers herself in her career, she will make more money. So the more money she makes, the more surplus she has. She can spend that how she wants to have fun on trips, going out, retreats, whatever. Or she can put more money into her TFSA and her RRSP to grow her old age fund and her retirement fund even bigger. So if you like the way this plan looks, if it looks like something you might want to have set up for yourself, let me know in the comments below. Or if you wish you had done this when you were 25 and you didn't and you're kicking yourself now, let me know in the comments below because, hey, I can relate, unfortunately. But it's never too late and you're never too old to start saving, investing, and compounding. And if you want to see what my solutions look like for later in life investing and compounding, let me know. Subscribe for future case studies.